Prepare yourself for paranormal perils in the sweltering sands of Egypt. Today I'm reviewing Strange Brigade, an odd game made by Rebellion with charming design and theme but mediocre gameplay. It's a weird combination of a third-person wave shooter and a story-driven action-adventure game that has gone under the radar for quite some time. However, I can see why it was left by the wayside. I enjoy the game, but it feels like it's missing a lot when you're playing it solo, but the content it has, it's not really worth full price for the base game. At launch, it would have been worth 30 USD, but I wouldn't buy it now for more than 15 USD, and for the game to feel satisfying at the start, buying the Secret Service weapons pack is necessary. I'll go more into it later, but unless you have friends to play this game with online, I can't recommend the game. The story is pretty simple, and takes place over its 8 levels through multiple sets. Each level takes about 45 minutes to an hour to complete. You'll be fighting putrid pirates through cutthroat caverns, mortifying mummies in deadly dungeons, and startling scorpions in barren burrows. Basically, you're trying to stop an ancient evil called Sateki from destroying the world by shooting undead creatures, Egyptian myths, and freeing souls. Like I said, it's simple. All of your adventures will be narrated by a 1930s radio show host with old-timey phrasings and plenty of alliteration.
Way ahead open! Onwards, Brigade! There's murderous mysteries and sinister secrets to be uncovered here. Leaving so soon? Are you sure there isn't some valuable loot lying about? Crikey! Who the devil's throwing spears about? Oh no! Armored attackers! Watch out, Strange Brigade!
This narration is where a lot of the punchlines and charm come from in this game, and if that annoys you, this isn't the game for you. Oh, and the game's set in an alternative history to her own, just to remind you to throw away all of the real life knowledge you have about their weapons. You'll go through each level with 3 pieces of equipment: an amulet ability, a recharging grenade, and whatever gun you've chosen. The amulet has a few abilities depending on your character. It can be raising undead to fight for you, a superpowered punch, turning enemies into chickens, or a homing missile. Your grenades aren't really game changers either. They can be molotovs, mines, or standard frags, but they take so long to charge that you only really use them to clear a path because you need space, or while you're reloading to clear some distance. Also, the mines are really inconsistent. Those bits of equipment you'll decide which ones to use really early on, because it's obvious which one is best. Each level you go through, you'll have to complete puzzles and defeat hordes of enemies to survive. At the end of that, you'll have a boss fight. The first couple of levels introduce higher tier enemies and mini bosses, and in the last 4 levels you have proper unique boss battles. I really like these kinds of cinematic and climatic introductions, and just boss fights in general. There's also collectibles to find, collect, and shoot to gain bonus money at the end of each match, which can be put towards new equipment. For me, this is where the most fun the game is. There's a real sense of exploration and discovery as you scour the semi-open world for its secrets and loot. None of the puzzles are complicated, but it's satisfying to complete them as a team. By yourself, there are a few that are just annoying due to their time limit. Here's where I get to the part of the game I like the least. It's not that the shooting is bad, it's just overwhelmingly mediocre. When starting out, if you have the Secret Service Weapons DLC, you statistically have the best guns in the game, because the game is designed to have you unlock the next tier weapon as you earn money in the campaign, but it's completely undermined by a Secret Service DLC. After realising I'd completed the entire game in hard difficulty, I had to rewrite this section. The guns are remarkably dull. They do just the right amount of damage, but the skill to use them is minimal, and using them effectively limits your playstyle. Due to bullet deviation, you will have to burst fire the automatic weapons to ensure they hit their targets, which makes the high fire rate but low damage weapons very annoying to use, unless you enjoy running to a crowd of mummies like a suicidal berserker. It's not as bad by the end of the game, but that's because you're using the best guns and pairing them with the runes that you use to upgrade your weapons, which you acquire randomly and can be destroyed if you decide to replace them with a different rune. Now, even when using the increased damage and accuracy, it will take out the weakest enemies without being tedious, but everything else is still very bullet spongy. There's also what I'll call pack-a-punch weapons and unique weapons you can buy from crates, which have much higher damage, but you can't refill the ammo. You can only get them in certain areas of the level, and which gun you get is randomized. These guns are really satisfying and fun to use, but you're limited by when they are accessible and if you've earned enough money in that level to buy one. There's a variety of enemies that change how you play. Scorpions act as tanks, flame burpers force you to keep moving, the various assassin classes ensure you check your damn corners, and the artillery enemies basically disrupt whatever you're trying to do. But the AI is brainless and just rushes B for your butthole. Most of the time you die because the asshole mini-boss wanted to clap your cheeks or just sheer enemy numbers. It's because of this that although you lose more health in higher difficulties, nothing else changes, making it very easy to forget you're on a harder difficulty. Outside of story mode is a wave mode, which is incredibly boring, simply because of how unsatisfying the combat of this game is, and it doesn't have the exploration and feeling of discovery you get when doing puzzles in the story mode. It's a competent wave shooter, it's just unimpressive. For my overall thoughts, I really do like the game, but playing it solo leaves you with too many angles of attack and a really dull experience. With co-op play, which is unfortunately online only, there is some fun to have here because the game's not bad, it's just ridiculously average at everything it does. The game has a really charming atmosphere and characters, but gameplay wise, it's unimpressive.